State, you may proceed.
Bill of Indictment. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn as such at the May term AD 2024 of the 226th Judicial District Court of said county in said court at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment. Count 1. Sexual abuse of child, continuous, victim under 14. Alexander Rodriguez, hereinafter referred to as defendant, is then and there during a period that was 30 or more days in duration, to wit, on or about the 11th day of November AD 2013 through the 11th day of November AD 2017, when the defendant was 17 years of age or older, commit 2 or more acts of sexual abuse against Emily, penetrate the anus of Emily. Number 2, the defendant did intentionally and knowingly cause the sexual organ of the defendant to contact the anus of, engage in sexual contact with, touch the part of the genitals of the defendant with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. Count 2. Indecency with child sexual contact. On or about the 14th day of November AD 2014, Alexander Rodriguez did engage in sexual contact with Emily with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. Count 3. Indecency with child sexual contact. On or about the 15th day of November AD 2015, Alexander Rodriguez did engage in sexual contact with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person against the peace and dignity of the state.
All right, to each of those counts, how do you plead? All right, you may be seated. State, would you like to present opening statements?
Your Honor, at this time, the state will waive opening, and the state would like to, with the court's permission, call its first witness.
All right.
Emily, where did you grow up? Where have you lived?
Here in San Antonio.
Here in San Antonio. And who do you live with?
My mom's father and siblings.
And what is your stepfather's name?
13, and the baby is 4.
Now you said the boys are 13. Are they twins?
Yes.
So have you always lived in that house or no?
No.
No. Where have you always lived in San Antonio?
Yes.
And do you have any other family in San Antonio? Who do you have in San Antonio?
My grandparents and great grandparents on both sides of the family.
Have you ever stayed at your grandparents' house?
Yeah.
Are those in San Antonio?
Mhm.
Now, with respect to why we're here today, do you know why we're here today?
Mhm.
And I'd like to talk about the relationship with your father, Alexander Rodriguez. Can you tell me the first time that something off or different happened that you can remember?
I remember one time I was laying there and I had my back towards him, and I felt something on my back. And I guess I didn't know what it was because it was the first time. Yeah.
Now, you said you were laying there. We're just going to take this super slow. When you say laying there, what house were you in?
In my grandma's house.
The same grandma that lives in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, when you're saying laying there, you're at your grandma's house. What room were you in?
I was in his room.
You were in his room. And I apologize. When you say his room, who is him? Who is he?
My dad.
Your dad's. So how often would you stay at your grandmother's house with your father?
Every other weekend.
Every other weekend. And when you stayed every other weekend, who all would be in the home?
Him, his brother, and my grandma, Christina, and Steve. I think that's about it.
And who is Steve?
I would say her husband.
Your grandma's husband.
Yes.
So it'd be the five of you, and this would happen, like you said, every other weekend.
Yes.
Now, how many stories is the home?
One.
It's a one-story home. And for every other weekend, would you always sleep in your father's bedroom?
Yes, I know that's first. I slept with my grandma, and then at some point I slept with my dad.
And how big is the bed? Best guess.
Like probably queen, maybe.
Not exactly sure, but it's an okay size.
Yeah.
And does it kind of come right up to the wall?
Mhm.
It does. And with the bed positioning up against the wall, would you be the one sleeping closest to the wall or further away from the wall?
Also,
Closest. Now, in the beginning, before anything started to change or shift, when you would sleep over at your grandma's house, would anything happen in the very beginning?
no.
But you mentioned this instance is the first time you can remember it changing. Now, I want to go back to what you said. You said your back was towards him. So you were facing which way?
The wall.
You're facing the wall. And how do you know that he was in the bed with you?
Because every night.
And did you see him walk in, or so you knew it was him?
Mhm.
So you're laying in the bed facing the wall. He comes in. And then did it happen automatically? Did some time pass? Help me better understand.
Yes, one time passed, and typically he would say something, I guess to make sure I was asleep.
Now, would you respond when he would ask you things? And what kind of things would he ask or say, to the best of your memory?
I either say my name or make a noise or say he loved me.
And would you ever acknowledge him or say something back? Why not?
So I didn't want to. Scary.
And you said you felt something. Where did you feel something on your person, on your body?
The first time it was just on my back, and I did like my lower back, and I don't know what it was.
And you're not quite sure what it was, right?
Mhm.
Do you remember any sensory details, how it felt? And after you felt something, what did you do anything?
Okay, need yes or no, not shaking the heads and up. You can just answer yes or no, okay? Thank you.
So for the rest of that night, to the best of your memory, did anything else happen?
No.
Now, the next time that you were at grandma's house, did something happen the next day? Did it take a while? Kind of what was the next time something happened that you can remember?
Can't remember exactly chronologically, but I just knew that one time there he progressed more with he did to me.
Now, when you say things would progress, what do you mean by that?
Do you want me to say like exactly?
Yeah, so to the best of your memory, with respect to things happening multiple times afterwards, you said things were progressing. What was happening?
Sometimes he would he turned to the wall and he would lower my pants and to where my bottom showed. And, he would.
So let's just break that up. So you said he would take off your pants to where your bottom was showing. How did you know that it was him that was taking off your pants?
Because he would be the one going to bed with me.
And would he talk to you like he had done the first time?
Object to leading.
All right, that would be sustained.
You knew it was him.
I'm gonna
Yes.
object to leading.
Sustained.
And when he pulled down your pants, what did he do next?
He would. He would put his thing in my butt.
Now, when you say his thing, what do you mean? Is that the part that he would use to go pee?
Object to leading.
Sustained.
And Judge, I'm sorry, if we could just instruct the witness to wait if I object to not answer the question and if the jury could disregard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll disregard the last question and last answer. When attorneys make an objection, just stop speaking because they're letting me know that they want me to make a ruling on something. And once I make a ruling, if you don't understand what my ruling is, just ask me and I'll let you know whether you can continue to talk about whatever question was asked, okay? And then continue to make sure that your voice is up so that everyone can hear, all right? All right,
Your Honor, may we briefly approach?
yes,
Emily, you had mentioned his private.
Yes.
Were you facing the wall?
I'm gonna object to leading.
that'll be overruled.
Were you facing the wall?
Yes.
And you said in your butt. What do you use that body part for exactly?
The poo.
And is that where his private went?
Yes, but it didn't go like exactly in the hole.
But did it make contact with your hole?
Yes.
And how often would this happen?
As often.
And after his private would touch your hole, what would happen after that?
I would just lay there and just kind of like wait for it to stop. And then sometimes I'd be facing him and he'd put my hand on his thing.
Now, when you say put your hand on his thing, I'm sorry to ask, but what do you mean by his thing? Is that the same body part that touched your hole? You said your butthole? And when you touched his penis, how did it feel?
Wet.
Okay. What, do you remember anything else about it?
It was hairy.
Was it soft? Was it hard? Anything else you remember?
Mm.
You remember the hairy, and you said it was wet?
Mm.
If you can remember, when you say touch his penis, just with one finger, with the whole hand, what do you mean?
I don't.
And would you just place your hand on his penis, or what would happen?
He would place his hand on top of mine so it could um, touch his area.
And would your hand ever move?
Yes.
How would it move? Would it make a type of motion in any way?
Yes.
Was it side to side, up and down? What was it?
Can I object to leading?
Overrule.
You can answer that question.
It was more like along his thing. Yes.
When you say thing, you mean,
His penis.
when you say along it, what kind of motion is that?
Mm,
To the best that you can remember.
Yes, I guess up and down.
Now, would you both be laying down when this happened?
Object to leading.
That'll be overruled.
You said what?
Yes,
Is this in a different location? Is this in that same bed you had spoken about previously?
it's the same.
Same house?
Yes,
Same place every time?
yes,
If you know, was anyone else ever in the room with you at the same time?
no,
Was the door open or closed, if you can remember?
close.
And how old were you when this started?
About 6 years old.
6 years old. And what's your year of birth?
Mhm.
7. So you're about 6 years old when this started.
Yes,
And when you're saying this started, are you talking about everything you've just testified to?
yes,
And about how long did that go on for?
until I was about 10.
So this is about 4 years, is that right?
Yes,
Now, why did it stop? Or actually, let me take that back. With respect to how it would feel when his penis would contact your butthole, as you would say, did it ever hurt?
sometimes yes.
Why would it hurt?
Either go inside my hole or not. I don't know if it did sometimes, but just know sometimes it hurt.
And would it hurt? Would you ever make a noise or move?
Yes. I'd make a noise so he would stop, but I wouldn't say anything.
And would he stop?
Sometimes he'd stop for a little bit, then continue.
And when you said earlier that it was wet, did you ever see anything on his penis?
No, it wouldn't stop.
So what type of day would this happen during?
Tonight,
Always at night?
yes,
And with respect to the feeling of pain that you sometimes felt, would you feel that same pain the next day?
no,
It was more in the moment.
yes,
Was it a sharp pain?
No.
Was it ever a dull pain?
I'm gonna object to leading.
Sustained.
What type of pain was it?
um. It would be more like a sharp pain.
And when these things would happen, would he say anything to you?
Not
Would he say anything after?
mm,
He wouldn't say anything after. Did he say anything the next day?
he asked how I slept, but nothing about it, no.
And would he do that frequently? So he would frequently ask you how you slept.
Mm.
And when would he ask you this again?
More like in the morning or after I wake up.
And did you ever confront him about this?
No,
Why not?
I was scared too. And I thought about it a lot of times, especially as he dropped me off, I could just tell him, but I was too scared.
And when did you notice that things stopped between yourself and Alexander Rodriguez? When did they stop?
After I started my period, it stopped.
Okay, let's kind of go into getting your period. If you can remember, kind of how did you come about the knowledge of having a period?
It was in their house. We were watching movies, and then I went to the restroom, and I saw like reddish brown in my underwear, and I asked my grandma and she helped me.
So you were at your grandma's house
Yes.
when the bleeding kind of happened on the couch,
Mm,
or where were you sitting?
yes.
And when your grandmother found out that you had had your period, was anybody else at the house that day?
Yeah.
Who was all there?
For sure, her and my dad, and I think Steve was there. I think that was it.
Did your dad know that you had started your period?
That day, yeah.
He was there.
Yeah.
And with respect to how this affected you mentally towards the end, would you have what was happening to you, kind of your mental state or kind of how you were feeling at the time?
It was really bad. Mm, I don't know how to explain it. It's really bad.
And when you say it was really bad, what do you mean by that?
I didn't want to be alive for a lot of the time.
How were you sleeping?
When I would sleep there, it was really bad. Wouldn't sleep at little to at all.
Do you have nightmares?
Yes.
And did any of those things move the needle or persuade you to want to say something?
Later on I did, because of the nightmares got really bad. Like as I kept going on into high school, even after I had stopped, I kept having nightmares. And I told my mom about the nightmares too, and she just thought they were nightmares, and so
I'm gonna object to hearsay.
That'll be overruled. Any statements, her statements will be overruled, but anything that someone else said to you, you're not allowed to say what they said. Do you understand?
Mm.
All right, you may continue.
Thank you, Judge. So what exactly had you told your mom? You said, not exactly what you said, but just the basics. What were you saying?
I told her that I was having nightmares. And then I ended up telling the counselor. And I and I I didn't think that she would tell anyone. I thought I could just tell her. And yeah,
When you said you told the counselor, you're talking about a high school counselor?
yeah, yes.
And kind of walk me through, how did you end up telling the counselor? Like, where were you exactly? Were you in her office? Were you in the hallways? Where were you?
Yeah, I was at school in her office, and I had scheduled to talk to her like a week before, and she hadn't gotten back to me. So that day I was having a really bad day, and I hadn't slept well. So I was like I was a mess in front of her, and I told her in her office.
And you had already testified to this, but you told her because why? What about her?
Just because she was my school counselor. I
You-
guess there's no particular reason why I confided in her.
Did you feel like she was going to tell a lot of people?
No, I didn't think she would tell anyone. I guess that's why I told her.
Just a brief moment of the court's time, Your Honor.
Yes.
So Emily, you had previously discussed how things were kind of progressing, right? With the actions your father would take.
Yes.
And you had mentioned that he would make you touch him.
Yes.
Would he ever touch you?
Yes.
And where would he touch you?
My private parts.
And when you say your private part, what do you mean by that?
Um. Uh. like my vagina and my chest.
And when you say your chest, what do you mean?
You kind of just like groped the area, but I was still little, so so much.
When you say chest, are you talking about breasts?
Yes, sir.
And with respect to that touching, when he would touch your vagina, how would he do that?
Um, um, I don't even know how to answer that. Sorry.
Would he place multiple fingers, a whole hand? How was it placed?
I'm gonna object to leading.
Overall,
You can answer that.
His whole hand would be there.
And when his whole hand would touch your vagina, did it stay still? Did it move?
It moved.
How did it move?
Um, like past the 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 um, the like squishy parts, I guess. I don't know how to clarify.
Would his hand or fingers ever go inside your vagina?
Not entirely, no. Like not inside any hole.
And how long would he do that for?
For a while, but typically I made a noise and he'd stop
And would you be facing away from him or towards him?
away from him.
So how would his hand, was it over your body or how did his hand get there?
It was over my body, or I'd be laying on my back.
So sometimes facing the wall, sometimes on your back?
Yes,
Would your shorts be on or would they be off?
off.
Would you take them off or he take them off?
He would take them off.
You take them off really fast or slow?
So
And when you had said that he touched your breasts, how would he do that?
I guess he would like grope the area.
And when you say grope, was it soft? Was it firm? His hands.
Like it's soft.
And would they stay still or would they move?
They would typically move, I guess, but not much.
Would he touch both breasts or just one?
Just one
The one furthest away or the one closest?
closest.
And would you say anything?
No.
Would he say anything? And I guess just to add more clarity, after he would do this, what would happen those nights?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So after he would touch your vagina or your breasts, would he then, what would happen next?
Mm,
Did he keep his hand there the whole night?
no.
Did he remove it?
Yes.
Did he ever get up from the bed?
No. I know he would wipe his area and wipe me down too with his blanket.
Now, when you say wipe his area, what do you mean?
Because it would the area everything would be like kind of wet and he would dry it. And that had a kind of smell.
And when you say wipe his area, what area exactly are you talking about?
His privates that he touched me with.
His hands or his genitals?
Both.
And would he would wipe you as well or just himself?
Me as well.
Where would he wipe you?
The areas he touched, like my my parts down there.
Your vagina?
Yes.
And you had mentioned that it kind of smelled.
It
What smelled?
was like I don't know. It wasn't as a smell. I don't know how to explain
Was it a smell that you were used to?
it. Not typically during the day, no.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Right? Defense, yes.
Hi, Emily.
Hi.
My name is Marissa. I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we've never met. Right?
Right.
Okay, so if you don't understand my question, just let me know, okay? And I'll ask it a different way. Okay. You, started seeing your dad in October of 2014, correct? About when you were 7, you started seeing your dad again?
Yes, maybe.
And you testified earlier that, the abuse, you said it started happening when you were 6?
6 or 7, yes.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that it happened when you were, that it started when you were 7 before today?
No,
No, you've always said 6 before today, right?
I said 6 or 7.
Okay.
So I was in second grade.
Okay. You remember you've talked to a lot of people in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. You met with the police.
Yes.
You met with someone at Child Safe where you were in a room where they were videoing you, right?
Yes.
Okay. You've met with the district attorney's office.
Yes.
How many times have you met with the prosecutors on this case?
In person once, I think.
Okay. And previous to today, you've always said that the abuse started when you were 6 years old.
6 or 7, yes.
Okay. And you would go see your dad every other weekend,
Yes.
okay? And it was always at your grandma Christine's house.
Yes.
And I think you already testified, the people who would always be there would be your dad, Christine, her husband, Steve, and your dad's brother.
Yes.
Okay, what's your dad's brother's name?
Ethan.
Ethan, okay. How old is Ethan? Do you know?
He's in his 20s.
Okay, so he's an adult.
Yes.
You also would have a friend stay the night with you a lot at your dad's house, correct?
Yes.
What was that friend's name?
Clarissa.
Okay, her name was Clarissa, like your mom's name?
Yeah.
Okay, and how often did she stay the night with you?
Not every other weekend, but when I was in 8th grade, she would sometimes. Yes.
Okay. But you testified earlier that, the abuse that you're telling us about, that it happened every single time that you were at your dad's.
I'm sorry, not every time.
Okay, so not every time?
It was between when I was 6 and 7 to 10.
Okay,
And when I was in 7th grade, I was at that age.
okay. So you're saying between 6 and 10, you never had any friends staying the night at your dad's house?
No.
Okay. And so between 6 and 10, every single time you were at your dad's for 4 years, every single night, you were abused by your father.
Not every night, no.
Okay. How often would it happen?
It'd be almost every night. Maybe every
Okay. And just one more, Judge. So your birthday's in 2007, correct? In November
Yes.
2007. So in 2013, in November, you turned 6.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. May I approach Judge?
Yes.
Emily, I'm showing you what we've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1, which I have previously shown to the prosecutor. This is a calendar, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if you look at it, when does it start?
2013.
Okay, and is each page a different year all the way up to 2020, I think 2024. If you want to take a look at it,
Mm-hmm.
yes or no?
30 years.
Okay. So every year, correct, from this, you agree, this highlighted square right here, that's your birthday,
Yes.
okay? And so this is when you turned 13,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
okay? And so do you think that we're incorrect in saying that you started seeing your dad in 2014?
No.
Okay, so if these pink highlighted portions, this would be every other weekend, right?
Yes.
Approximately, that would represent how many times you saw your dad over these years.
A lot.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
You saw him a lot. Okay, Hundreds of days,
Yes,
right? Okay. And you're saying that every single night that you were over there, something would happen to you over these years?
a majority is.
Judge, we would offer to admit defendants exhibit 1.
Your Honor, given the state's honor about, certainly, we don't believe this is, certainly for demonstrative purposes, we think this is fine, but we don't really see the relevance of including a calendar that goes up to 2024.
May I see defense exhibit number 1, please? If I have parties approach. All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Okay. Emily, you talked about you live with your mom and your stepdad, correct?
Yes,
And his name is Roy Herrera.
yes,
Okay. And your mom's name is Clarissa.
yes.
And the police have come out to your house with your mom several times, correct?
I'm gonna object to relevance, Your Honor.
That'll be overruled.
You can.
Can you repeat, I'm sorry?
Yeah, the police have come out to your mom's house several times, correct?
I don't know, sorry,
You don't know?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you remember, have you previously talked to CPS about abuse in your home?
Not in my home, no.
No? You don't remember talking to CPS about physical abuse by the hands of Roy Herrera
Your
to
Honor,
yourself?
I'm gonna have to object on 2 grounds, both to relevance and to an improper impeachment.
All right. Can parties approach? All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Emily, so do you remember previously talking to CPS?
I know someone from recently CPS came to my great grandparents' house. But I don't think I talked to them.
Okay, when you say your great grandparents' house, who are you talking about?
My great grandparents on my mom's side.
Okay, and you don't remember talking to CPS?
No, not that I'm calling.
Okay, so you don't remember telling CPS that you've never been sexually abused before?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna move on for 1 second. Do you remember how old you were when you started your period?
Around like 11.
Okay, do you remember previously saying that you started your period at 12?
I don't remember.
You don't remember saying that?
No, man.
Okay. Do you remember talking to CPS about this case?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember telling CPS that the abuse went until you were from 6 until you were 12 and that you started your period at 12?
I started around 11 or 12. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. So do you remember, you're saying now that the abuse happened, I think there's some inconsistencies. You say 10, but then you say 12 sometimes. Do you know how old you were when the abuse stopped?
Around 10.
Around 10. So when you previously said that it stopped at 12, that was not correct.
Right? No.
Okay. So you've actually been interviewed by CPS several times as a child, correct?
I think so. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay. But you don't remember talking to CPS?
No, I'm not though.
So you testified earlier that your dad, that he would come into the room at night.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And that you would be facing the wall,
Yes.
but you just knew it was him.
Yes, but throughout the night I would turn to the wall. He like we would go to bed together.
Okay. There were other men that lived in that house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you're saying this abuse happened, you weren't facing the person who was doing this to you.
Correct.
So you don't actually know that it was your dad who was abusing you.
No one else walked into the room, just him.
But how do you know that if you didn't see him?
Because I didn't go to bed.
Okay. But you've already testified that you didn't see him. He didn't say anything to you.
He did.
Okay. What did he say?
He would either say my name or try to talk to me or say like I love you or good night to make sure, I guess, to see if I was awake.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that before?
Yes.
Okay. I think earlier when you were testifying, you said that he would say something to make sure that you were awake. And I think previously you said to make sure you were asleep, but you've never testified or never told anyone that he would say, I love you, or say your name. You've never told anyone that before today.
Yes, I have.
Okay, who have you told that to?
Last time when we came to talk to the DA.
Okay, to talk to the DA. Do you remember telling the DA that you did not hear anything when the abuse was happening?
Not during, no.
Okay, so if it was said that you didn't hear anything, that wasn't exactly correct. You meant specifically, not, you heard something, but later you didn't.
Your Honor, to object to a compound question. I couldn't follow that.
Right, that objection will be sustained with
Okay.
regards to compound question.
I'll rephrase. So if you said previously that you didn't hear anything, you didn't mean that to mean the whole night, only just part of it.
Correct.
You see how that's a little bit different?
Yes, sir.
Do you also remember telling the DA that your dad would not say your name, and now you're testifying that he did?
Yes. Thank,
Okay. So did he say your name or did he not say your name?
yes,
He did.
yes.
Okay. And so this person that you didn't see, that you didn't hear, that you just know is your dad, he would come in and he would take off your shorts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this happened every night that you were there for every other weekend for 4 years.
Almost every, yes.
Okay. So 2 out of the 3 nights you were there, 1 of the nights, what do you
I was
think?
there for
Okay.
neither.
Sometimes it would be neither.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you testified that it was every time you were over there, that wasn't correct. Okay. And you said that he would touch you with something, but you didn't know what it was.
No, it was.
Okay. But at first you said you didn't know what it was, right?
Mhm.
At first? Okay. And then later, as you got older, you figured out what it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you testified that, that his penis never went into your butthole.
Correct.
But then later you testified that it would hurt.
Yes, it would hurt.
Okay. So are you testifying that it did go in and that's why it would hurt? Or why would it hurt?
I don't know, I just know that it hurt.
Okay. And how many times when this happened did it hurt?
Not every time, no.
Okay. Did you ever have any bleeding?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any tears or sores in your butt?
No.
No injury to you at all.
No.
But you were really little at this time, right?
Yes.
And your dad was a grown man.
Yes.
You see him now, is he bigger or smaller than he is now?
Bigger.
Bigger. Okay, you also talked about your dad's penis when you testified, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I believe you were asked to describe it before today too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and both times you said the same thing, that it was wet and hairy,
Yes.
and that you don't remember anything else about it. Okay, and so you're 17,
Yes.
you know what a penis is,
Yes.
okay? You're testifying there's nothing unusual about your father's penis.
No.
Okay. You also testified that this was a sharp pain that you would feel, right?
Yes.
But you don't know why you felt pain.
No.
You also testified earlier that your dad didn't say anything after or during, but now you're saying that's different, right? You're saying now that he would say your name, I love you.
He would say something beforehand, yes.
Okay. And then the next day he asked you how you slept.
Yes.
But he would ask you how you slept every morning, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So that really doesn't mean anything that he asked you how you slept the next morning, because he would ask you that every day.
Yes.
You then started talking about, you testified about your period, right? That you started when you were about 12, correct?
I don't know the exact age, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. but you were at your grandma's house and then your mom came to pick you up, right?
No,
No?
they drove me to my mom.
Okay, who drove you to your mom's?
My dad,
Okay. And he dropped you off?
yeah, he walked in with me.
Okay. And then after your dad left, your mom, did she talk to you about your period?
Yes,
And she asked you at that point in time if your dad was abusing you, didn't she?
I'm gonna have to object to hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You also testified that at that point in time, you were in a really bad mental state,
yes.
right? But tell me, how are you doing in school?
I think I was doing fine.
But you got really good grades in high school, right?
Yes,
You never got in trouble in high school,
no,
no behavior issues,
no,
no attendance problems.
no,
You talked about how you said you didn't want to live.
yes,
In fact, you actually attempted suicide at one point.
yes,
Okay. And was that the same day that you told the counselor what happened to you?
no, that was in seventh grade.
Okay. Do you remember telling Child Safe that it was the same day that you told the counselor that you attempted suicide?
No,
Okay. When you attempted suicide, was that at your dad's house?
yes,
And you would agree with me that after you told the counselor what happened to you, you didn't go back to your dad's house.
correct.
So it wouldn't be possible for you to attempt suicide at your father's house the day you told the counselor, right?
Right,
Because that was during the week
right,
and you were with your mom,
yes,
and you obviously wouldn't go back to your dad's house after you told somebody that he'd been abusing you.
yes,
Okay. So if you told someone previously that you had attempted suicide the same day you told your counselor at your dad's house, that would be a lie.
right,
You testified earlier that you were having nightmares
yes,
and that you told your mom about the nightmares before you outcried to the abuse.
yes,
Okay. Have you told anyone before today that you told your mom about the nightmares?
yes, yes.
Okay. Who did you tell that to?
I think I told the DA to either on call or in person.
Okay.
And the counselor,
And you told that to the counselor as well?
yes,
What did you tell your mom about the nightmares?
that, that they were causing me to lose a lot of sleep.
Okay. Did you tell your mom what they were about?
No,
Okay. Let's go back to when you were younger at your dad's house, or well, at your grandma's house.
Yeah.
Christine's, right?
yes,
Okay. You were, I mean, you were still a young child. Okay. Did you bathe or shower on your own?
yes.
You didn't, no one would give you a bath?
When I first started going over, my grandma would bathe me.
Okay.
And then as I got older, I bathed myself.
Okay. And so when the abuse was happening, were you being bathed by your grandmother or were you bathing yourself?
I was bathing myself.
Okay. Yourself at 7 years old?
I'm not sure.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 2. Have you seen these before?
No.
No. Okay. Do you know what these are?
No.
Okay. Whose name is this at the top?
Claire Sarah,
And that is
my mom.
your mom. Okay. And you see right here? Who's this talking about?
Me.
Great. These are CPS records, but you agree with me, these are about you.
Yes.
Okay. So right here, can you read this paragraph here to yourself? Not out loud. Okay. And so you agree with me that says that you said that the abuse went till you were 12 and that you started your period when you were 12.
Your Honor, I have to briefly object to reading outside the record, and this individual says she's never seen this before, so any statements contained therein are hearsay.
All right, I don't believe that was the question. The objection will be overruled.
You can answer that. You want me to ask you again?
Yes, please.
Okay. So you agree with me that this it says that you previously stated that the abuse stopped when you were 12 and that you started your period when you were 12.
I don't know exactly when I started my period.
Okay, but that's not what I'm asking you, okay? The paragraph you just read that say that you previously said that the abuse stopped when you were 12
Yes,
and that you started your period when you were 12.
yes,
So you said that the first adult that you told was the counselor about the abuse,
yes.
right? And you told the counselor things that happened to you, everything that happened to you?
Not exactly, no, I told her.
Okay. And what all did you tell her?
I told her that what had happened to me with my dad and that I was having nightmares. And yeah, I think that's about it. I told her.
Okay. And so you didn't tell her details,
I don't think so. Yes,
okay? Testimony that you do not know if something went inside your body.
correct.
Okay. But this went on until you were 10 years old,
Yes,
okay? At 10, you wouldn't know if something went inside your body,
I don't think anything did, but it hurt.
okay? So you really just don't know.
No,
You also testified that your dad would wipe himself on a blanket,
yes,
right? And then today you said that he would also wipe your vagina.
yes.
Have you ever told anyone before that he wiped your vagina with a blanket?
I might have told the DA, I don't remember if I did.
Okay. Previously, you only said that your dad would wipe himself. You never said that he would wipe you.
I'm have to object, not a question, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You can,
Can you ask again?
right. Previously, you have never told anyone that your dad would wipe your vagina. You only have said that he would wipe himself,
I
correct?
don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. And isn't it true you told the counselor that you felt guilty?
Yes,
Okay. And you said that on the 19th and the 20th.
yes,
Several times you said that multiple times that you feel guilty.
yes,
And in fact, you've also said that this went too far. You didn't want this to happen.
yes.
You remember how old you were when you met Roy?
Mm,
And your mom, do you know when they got married?
no,
Okay. Do you think that they got married before you started seeing your dad again?
yes,
And after you started seeing your dad, your mom was also seeing your dad.
yes.
They were having an affair.
Your Honor, I'm not to object. This is irrelevant. It's 404, it's bad acts, and it's improper questioning.
All right, with regards to the bad acts, that will be overruled, but could parties approach?
Emily, just to be clear, when we're talking about when you and your mom would go to see your dad, does your mom speak kindly about your dad, Alex?
It's objection, Your Honor, both the speculation and hearsay.
With regards to hearsay, that will be sustained.
And I'm just asking generally, not specifically what she would say.
It's still
That will
hearsay, Your Honor.
be, the objection to hearsay will be sustained.
What is the tone when your mom speaks about your father?
Your Honor, this is a circumvention of what we just respectfully requested, which was an objection with respect to hearsay.
Overruled.
You can answer that question. What was the tone what is the tone when your mom speaks about Alex? Your dad started seeing another woman in 2022 or 2020, 2021, correct?
Yes,
And her name is Lizette.
yes,
And they started living together soon after that.
yes,
Okay. And Lizette had children of her own.
yes,
And so when you would go over there, they would be there.
yes.
How did that make you feel?
Your Honor, I'm not to object to the relevance.
Relevancy.
I'm getting there, Judge, if I can have a little bit of leeway.
Your Honor,
All right.
just on.
What's the relevancy?
Can we approach?
Yes.
Emily, do you remember what year it was when you outcried about the abuse?
I was in freshman year.
Okay, do you remember what year that was?
No.
Okay, so you were a freshman in 2022. You agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that's when you talked to the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And your dad moved in with Lizette not long before that outcry.
Right.
Okay. In fact, you talked to your counselor, the day of the outcry was September 15th of 2020, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when Lizette moved in with her kids, how many kids does she have?
4.
Okay. That affected you.
Your Honor, can I object to relevance once again?
Relevancy.
Judge, it's close proximity to the outcry.
All right, overrule.
Okay, so that affected you when they moved in, correct?
I suppose.
Okay. In fact, you previously told Lizette and your dad that you felt like you were an inconvenience to them.
Yes.
Can I approach Judge?
Yes.
Emily, did your dad have a nickname for you?
Yes.
What did he call you?
Booger.
Booger? Okay. So I'm showing you what's marked Defense Exhibit 3. Is that say Booger at the top?
Yes.
Okay. Can you look at these and see if you recognize these? Are they text messages?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize them?
Yes.
Who are they text messages between?
Me and my dad.
Can you speak up just a little bit for us?
Me and my dad.
Okay. And what is the date at the top
October 29th,
of what year?
2021.
Okay. And is this where you were telling your dad that you feel like you're an inconvenience to them?
Yeah.
Move to admit Defendant's Exhibit 3.
Your Honor, the state's going to object both for relevance and the fact that these are self-serving statements of their client, the defendant.
All right, with regards to hearsay, any defense exhibit number 3, any text messages that are text messages made by your client that is hearsay and that will be sustained.
Judge, we're not offering them for the truth of the matter. We are offering them for optimal completeness and for understanding the context. And so because it's not for the truth of the matter, it's not hearsay.
All right, the objection is sustained with regards to your client's statements.
Can we redact the
Yes.
defendant's statement?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you all a 10-minute break and, well, a little bit more than 10 minutes. I'll have you all back here at 3:30, all right? You are not allowed to discuss anything that you've heard. You're not allowed to do any research. You're not allowed to talk about this case. You're not allowed to start deliberating. Do not think about this case unless you're in this courtroom. Does everyone understand? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors.
Oh, you walk like you're 10 feet tall, but your shadow barely stretches at all. You're a peacock in a chicken coop, strutting around like you're the big scoop. For such huge talk, you're eccentric. I'm surprised by your tiny stick. Forgot my magnifying glass, it's true. This ain't no mystery, ain't no clue. Your confidence is a runaway train, but your station's empty and it's all in vain. Pull your shorts up, no one's impressed. Your bravado's loud, but you're underdressed. For such huge talk, you're eccentric. I'm surprised by your tiny stick. Forgot my magnifying glass, it's true. This ain't no mystery, ain't no clue. You keep for such huge talk, you're eccentric. I'm surprised by your tiny stick. Forgot my magnifying glass, it's true. This ain't no mystery, ain't no clue.
Spin the wheel of justice, see where it lands. A roll of the dice in uncertain hands. Prosecutors shuffle cards in the dark. Will they strike a deal or miss their mark? Dismiss the case or drop it cold. Reduce the weight, make the charge less bold. State jail whispers or misdemeanors fly. Decisions made while the victim sighs. Justice roulette, spin it again. Who holds the power? Who calls the end? A deck of chances, a game of fate. Will truth break through or hesitate? The judge with a glance or a subtle sway hints at the path or clears the way. Restitution denied, victims left to fight in the shadows of law where wrong meets right. The DA's hand plays quiet yet strong in the chaos of justice where justice is gone. Do they fold or do they stand? The game is rigged by unseen hands. Justice roulette, spin it again. Who holds the power? Who calls the end? A deck of chances, a game of fate. Will truth break through or hesitate? Hesitate. To break through. Oh. Justice to roulette, spin it again. Who holds the power? Who calls the end? A deck of chances.